And at that time, we will have again the second round of public engagement. So we can, go to the public and show them what we are thinking, what we are considering in terms of recommendations, and we can get their feedback. And then we'll finalize the recommendations and finalize the plan. Oh, it's not moving. Yeah.
Apologize, we're having YouTube issues. Can we pause for just a minute?
Yeah.
Sorry, Jeanette.
Okay.
So for the folks online, we're having some YouTube issues. We're just going to take a pause for a minute.
Okay, we're good. We can go back. Sorry about that.
Oh, thank you. All right, so questions. Does anyone have any questions?
If there's anyone online with questions, you can either just unmute yourself and ask, or you can go ahead and raise your virtual hand. Amy, I see you're unmuted.
When you state that you're going to be implementing in May or June, that's not a long time from now. So you plan before the study's done, before you've decided that this will work and what the cost implications are, you're already planning to implement?
We're
In Vail?
developing an implementation plan. So
Okay,
it's just a plan so we can leave the PAG with a kind of a roadmap of how to go through all these steps and get things, the things that we are recommending done.
and the plan that is being implemented in May and June is funded via which funding source?
So no plan is being implemented, it's being developed. There is an implementation plan that is developed as part of this study.
Okay,
Yeah,
Thank-
so the implementation will come later when the study needs to be adopted, and then I'm sure that there are some other steps that the PAG needs to take that probably Hannah or Jeanette want to talk about.
all right, thank you.
Sure, yeah, so ideally, we'll have this go to the PAG Regional Council in May or June of this year, and then as part of the plan, the implementation portion of it will outline kind of the steps that we'll need to take, but that wouldn't start until, of course, like next fiscal year or after.
All right, are there any other questions? All right, I'm not seeing any hands up or anyone unmuted online.
And I think at the end, if you think of other questions, I think we are gonna have time at the end as well. So I think we can go to the Mentimeter. And I have to disclose, I'm going to call you by name to hear your opinions, since I cannot see your face. So, yeah, please.
All right, so this is Joseph Akbari with Kimley Horn. We do have a Mentimeter set of questions that we would like to run through with everybody. If you are unfamiliar with Mentimeter, it's fairly simple. Please go to menti.com, MENTI.com. And up at the top of the page, there will be an option that says join session or enter the code. Please enter the code 944588826. That code again is 944588826. And please click join when ready. The first question that should pop up on your screen is a nice icebreaker question of who has the best Sonoran hot dog in town.
And I need to know because Joe told me I cannot leave Tucson without eating one.
That's where we're headed after this. You all can join us.
And real quick, Davida, it looks like you have your hand up. Did you have a
Oh,
question?
I was
accessing
having
the-
trouble. I just found my answer, never mind. I needed to get to mentimeter.com.
Perfect, glad you're on.
Okay, what's the code?
The code is 944588826.
Thank you.
Well,
We have a
so
tie
we're
right
gonna go
now.
To the,
Oh.
yeah,
Uh-oh, tiebreaker.
That could be.
yes. But we're gonna need to go to two places.
There's that choice too.
Yes, awesome. So I think we can go to the next question.
I want to verify everybody, it has been working for you. Everybody can see the screen and is able to submit their responses. Yeah, hearing nothing. All right. All right, so we're going to move on to the transit related questions here. Starting off simply with some demographic kind of area questions.
Yeah, it's at the bottom, right?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. We have,
You want to know where our office is located or where we operate?
what agency you represent essentially, your jurisdiction.
All? Half?
Is that you? Is that you, Amy?
No, it was
Is
Davina.
what me, I'm still trying to get to the Mentimeter. I thought I could just hit here, but I can't.
So Centran operates in the city of Tucson, unincorporated Pima County, town of Marana, and on the Indian reservation.
I think you can select all.
Is there other?
Yeah,
That was why I asked.
Yeah. You should be able to select,
It
All of
only
them.
allowed you to select one.
yeah, it's
Okay.
not run or ride, it's just to have a sense of.
a sense of,
Where you
where
are,
this
yeah.
is.
Mhm.
So,
Cool. Oh, and just so you know, Shamara is with me, so we're doing this together.
Fantastic.
Amy,
Thank
were-
you for joining again today.
and Amy, were you able to get on?
Yeah,
Perfect.
we'll move on to the next question. What are the most pressing transportation issues in the region? So for this one, you have 100 points essentially, and you are able to allocate in increments of 10. Between there, you can, click on one option twice, that would be 20 points, so you have 100 points to distribute amongst those options. And once you make your selections, there's the bottom right is the button that says submit.
So we have 4 responses, we need 2 more.
All right, looks like we got
Oh, 3 more, 7. Okay, good.
some extra feedback.
Awesome. So I think I would like to talk about these responses. So can then please feel free to unmute yourself and just tell us. We would like to understand a little bit of where you are coming from. So if you can just talk to us, for instance, the perception of safety when using transit. What is that about?
I can talk to that one.
Thank you.
Perception of safety. So we receive customer complaints about people sitting at bus stops that they feel not comfortable being at the bus stop. This is definitely a perception as opposed to, in many cases, as opposed to reality. But if they see a bus stop that somebody has been using for more than something other than riding the bus, they may not feel safe, or they just driving down the street and they see people loitering. And then when you're on the bus, if somebody gets on the bus and they are different than you, or they smell different than you expect people to smell, or if they act different, but we have a very safe system, but it's definitely a perception of safety.
Thank you. Yeah, and that's why we actually put perception, because sometimes it's just how people feel about.
Yeah.
What about people, someone talk?
Oh, Jonathan, did you have something to say?
Well, I mean, do you have enough, is that enough feedback from Davida? Because I could expand on that if you want, but
Yes, please.
I agree with her, and, we receive, I'm aware of comments and concerns raised on that issue. I think, perception of safety is one way to word that, but as Davida said, it's not simply, it's not maybe as comprehensive a description of the concern as what exists out there. I think Davida put it really well about, people are uncomfortable or unwilling to be, to ride transit for not only just fear, which safety implies, but not wanting to sit next to somebody strange, not wanting to be in a different environment than their own car. So that category of concerns is much bigger than simply perception of safety. And I think Davida hinted at what that is, but it's generally it includes an unwillingness or to ride transit for kind of the reasons that Davida outlined.
Thank you.
I would also state that while it is a perception, it's also a reality. It's not just a perception. Been in transit over 30 years. I remember, God, I don't know how old I was, waiting for a bus at 5:30 in the morning, right outside the Tucson Mall. So it was still dark, and thinking, what the hell was I doing? So we have to, while we're all transit, well, I don't know, I'm making a generalization. I think we also, Portable transit, we also need to know there's an inherent new risk out there with today's population, and admit to that if we're going to actually reduce the fear. I remember going to a meeting where I had a group of people upset that we were going to take, this was back in my Suntran days, bring a route up there. And I had so many people say, I finally got to the point where I don't have to ride transit, that I don't want it in my neighborhood because it's unsafe. I don't want those people. So I think while we use the term perception, we have to understand that that is a strong fear, and there are things that do occur on the bus. And we have to figure out what we're going to do to mitigate that if we want to get people onto the bus. We have to mix those two.
Yeah, and I agree, Amy. It's not just the perception, it's a reality. And I think
Yeah.
you have to look at how people access bus stops, for example. And getting to a bus stop is inherently likely more dangerous than maybe riding a car in a car. So I think the riding transit involves a whole lot of different activities, and some of those are inherently more dangerous than others. So I think there's a reality in addition to the perception.
Yes.
And I want to agree with both of you, and in all the years that I've been riding the bus and working in transit on the bus, there's only been one occurrence that I can tell you where I have personally felt unsafe. But that doesn't mean other people have that same experience. And if as Jonathan just mentioned, walking to the bus stop sometimes at 6 o'clock in the morning when it's not a safe route becomes very difficult to get to the bus stop. So there are issues of safety that are beyond the perception of safety, but I think most of the perceptions of safety, to be more blunt, have to do with homelessness and drug use and a fear of somebody that's not like me.
And I'd like to push back a little bit in terms of, for example, a crash. It's a lot more dangerous in a car than in a bus. So in that case, this is not perception. This is reality. You are safer as a bus rider than as a bus driver or passenger. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, great feedback. What about the second option? People don't know about the current service. Anyone wants to?
I didn't rate that high personally. I don't know if that's as much of a concern as some of the other measures that we're talking about today, at least from Pima County's point of view. There may be some, but I'm not aware that is as big of a concern, because if people are motivated and interested in riding transit, they're going to figure out a way to do it one way or the other. And I'm not sure that it's just simple as not knowing about existing services.
Thank you.
I agree. And I run into that a lot being in Oro Valley and stuff in Marana. People don't know, but if they are interested in riding the service and they are interested or need the service because of their dependency, I agree with Jonathan. They get online and they figure it out, or they make a call. And I think they figure it out.
I agree with you on that, Amy, but I think at times, and I'm always surprised when we get a call or a complaint, well, I didn't know you could do that, or I didn't know this was available. Especially with the public dial rides and the Sun on Demand, those I get more comments about, well, I didn't know that was available to me. I thought that was something else, or I thought that was somebody else. So I think those are the place where people aren't sure about what's available.
I agree with that. I guess what I meant is in this list, I didn't rate it very high, but there are a lot of people that, don't know about certain services.
Yeah, and that's super important when we are talking about microtransit, because one of the measures of success we have seen in places that have implemented microtransit is to have a robust educational campaign so people can understand how it operates and also the limitations. And so it's good to know where we are right now regarding that. What about access to jobs, health, or educational facilities?
I kind of think this goes with, I didn't know I could do that. I was fortunate to meet Marietta last night, and Philippa, and she didn't realize that she could get to work on an express route. So it wasn't that there was service. She knows about service. Using her as an example from last night is she didn't realize she could get to the service, and it was to get to work. So we have places in the city, and I don't know if that kicks with for the current service, the access to a job, or don't think that there's transit in my area, is that we have access to a lot of jobs, a lot of healthcare, but there are places where you still have, for healthcare, you still have to walk a distance from where the bus stop is and where the hospital is. or where the other medical offices are.
Mhm.
And you don't see it as convenient because it's not at the front door or it's not within 2 blocks. But I do know for the most part at least within the city, we cover a lot of it, and I only know of one area, it's about 1.5 miles, that doesn't have routes that go close. But every place else, we're pretty close. The farther you get to the edge of the city of Tucson, or you get into the other jurisdictions, the more infrequent transit is and the farther apart the bus stops are.
Thank you. Anyone wants to tell us anything about the service reliability or the lack of transit service in my area?
I voted pretty high on the lack of transit service in my area because my area is unincorporated Pima County and we have limited service. So I think that's very important for unincorporated residents who just don't have access to transit, at least close by. Reliability, I rated pretty low on, or I might not have given it any score at all because my perception is that that's not a big concern. It's not that people are complaining and not riding transit because it's not on time or it's not reliable. I may be wrong, but I don't perceive that as being an important criteria here.
Thank you. Anyone else before we go to the next one? All right.
All right, next question that should be showing up for everybody. Where is transit service most needed? And this is a single answer question.
I'd like to point out that 3 of these locations that you have on your list are also unincorporated Pima County.
I agree. This is a weirdly worded and strange question because I don't have enough information to answer.
Well, that's fine. And that's valid.
And I can tell you that I can tell you from personal knowledge that there's a lot of residents in Vail asking for more transit,
Mhm.
but they're unincorporated Pima County. I know that Picture Rocks would like transit. They're also in unincorporated Pima County. So it's unincorporated Pima County even catches Green Valley. So Green Valley, Picture Rocks, and Vail are all in unincorporated Pima County.
Perfect. We will take note of that.
Yeah, definitely agree. I think in terms of that or in that spirit, if we wanted to break it out a little bit more, knowing that it is an unincorporated Pima County. So if you do believe what you consider Vail to be a service or a geographic area, I think in terms of this question, I would recommend rating Vail specifically rather than unincorporated Pima County.
I mean, given that I'm representing Pima County, I picked Pima County as the answer because these are all competing needs, and I wouldn't be in a position today to tell you that Vail or Picture Rocks or any other part of the county is more important and more needy than any others. I'd have to have data. It depends on how you're going to measure this, right? And technically, if you want to measure, potential ridership or anticipated ridership, that's one way to do it. But there's a lot of different ways you can answer this question, and you can prioritize transit service. And I'm not in a position to make that decision today. So that's why I picked unincorporated area. And there's also areas within the city that are important too. So it's kind of I don't think it's a very helpful question.
I agree. We don't have enough information to answer this.
Yeah, and this is more to kind of understand what you know with, like, it's a qualitative yes, qualitative question. And we are right now doing all the, the data collection and the needs assessment. So when we come back to you, you'll see numbers.
Like a
And then we will have
presentation.
it different, yeah. So right now, we just want to know where you stand, and then,
I
just,
could argue that Oro Valley needs more transit service because the only person that has Saturday, Sunday service in Oro Valley are people with disabilities. Other than that, nobody else can ride on Saturday and Sunday. So
yeah.
this is all, I really can't answer this question.
And actually, I can't change my answer because Shamar and I are doing this together, but at the same time, Jonathan's right. It is, and Amy's right. All of these, depending on who you ask, all need more service.
Yeah.
City of Tucson needs more service especially in certain areas. Green Valley and Sarita and Town of Marana and Town of Oro Valley all have the same problem. They don't have weekend service for the general public.
Yeah.
Picture Rocks and Vale have been screaming for years that they need more service if you want to separate them out from the rest of unincorporated Pima County. But we've got areas of unincorporated Pima County that even Suntran provides service for that needs a little bit more service. So, and other is everything. And if I had a choice, I would change my answer to other to incorporate everything.
Well, we take note of that. So,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
thank you.
That was a good way to put it, Davida.
Perfect, great responses, great thoughts, guys.
Yes.
All right, moving on. My patrons would like. And again, this is distribute 100 points between the responses.
And again, this is based on what you know and the people you talk to and what your agency needs to respond to. And we will come back with what we hear in the public surveys and everything else.
So in this case, again, my patrons don't want any of what they want is weekend service. Because I'm not certain if you know that most of we're talking dial-a-ride or we're talking fixed route or sunshine. What are we?
Everything, we are talking everything, yeah.
Okay.
And we understand that there are some, we were talking with the sun shuttle drivers yesterday, and we understand kind of the challenges and for people also to understand kind of where ADA ends and where dial-a-ride begins. And I think that adds to the complications in the area.
Sun shuttle drivers, dial-a-ride, sun shuttle riders that are doing the routes. Which sun shuttle riders?
We spoke with,
Drivers.
yeah, we had dial-a-ride drivers, we had fixed route drivers, and we had paratransit drivers that we spoke to yesterday.
Okay, are
And
these
then
all
we're gonna-
Suntrans, Sunvan folks?
Sun shuttle.
No, they didn't talk to Sunvan yet. That's tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah, that's,
Okay.
yeah,
Yep.
it's the sun shuttle group of.
Yep, we have 2 more meetings scheduled tomorrow where we're gonna talk to additional groups of drivers. We talked to folks that were based out of the Silver Lake Maintenance
Okay.
Yard,
Thank you.
just outside of downtown, so we have a couple more to go yet.
So Amy, they have no influence from Suntran or Sunvan yet.
No, I just trying to figure out who they were speaking to.
Yeah, no.
All right, so who wants to tell us a little bit about more frequency and more routes because they are very close to each other?
Well, I guess it would be more frequency in terms of starting earlier, ending later, and weekends, as has been brought up before.
Okay. Yeah, that's actually something that we saw a lot with the riders when we asked them what type of improvements they would like to see. Many people were saying extended hours on weekends.
And we have
What is-
requests all the time to go to more.
What did you mean about traveling seamlessly? What does that mean?
It's like making transfers in a very easy way. So you can go, I mean, there are two ways of doing the trip. So you have the direct service from A to B, or you have very easy transfers. Transfer always make it more difficult, but if if the schedules are coordinated, it may be possible to make them work. So that's kind of.
It might be a way to, it might be a good idea to change that wording if it's used again in any context, just so that it's more defined as either transfers or not transfers or fewer transfers, so that people understand the question a little better.
But yeah, we can do that next time. Thank you. Anyone else wants to make any comments regarding this question?
All right, we will move on. My agency jurisdiction thinks that our patrons will benefit from
And we know that transit is service is free right now, so you can ignore the fare integration for now.
I will say when we were collecting fares, our integration for fares was pretty good.
That's great.
I am getting really confused at what we're trying to get here. Again, so we're talking fixed and dial-a-ride. They don't integrate well. You're going to, I guess it depends on how you're going to implement this microtransit system. I would agree with whoever just put that one in there.
Well, and that's great feedback, because those are some of the things that we need to consider when we begin putting together the plans for microtransit, is how all of these can integrate.
Hannah, are they interviewing anybody in Oro Valley? Is Oro Valley part of this? Because like shorter wait times, you can't get shorter wait times on our system. So there's just a lot of this that just doesn't apply.
So Amy, so sorry, you were asking specifically about Oro Valley residents?
Well, is this supposed to be Oro Valley Transit Services? Oro Valley Transit patrons will benefit from.
specifically, what would Oro Valley benefit from out of those options? What could improve ridership, essentially?
In that case, we would have to add increase costs of parking and gas, and because it's so easy to drive here. Like, that's where I come from, it's a lot harder to drive. So here with the streets so wide and all the amenities to do so, I think we are trying to find a lot of carrots, but there are no sticks.
The availability of parking always makes it difficult for transit. Yeah. But also you have a lot of riders that, the county has a lot of riders that will benefit from improvements and additional service. And does anyone want to, well, we talked a little bit about the awareness. Are there any additional ideas on this question regarding the awareness about transit services? What about additional transit options? Or any other?
Well, I guess I just kind of had a quick question on differentiating between the difference between educational efforts and more awareness. What is the difference between those two questions?
Well, you can have, when you have more awareness, it's typically kind of an ongoing effort, and educational many times is related to very targeted efforts to kind of help people understand how the services work. So having, I mean, one of the things that we are hearing is that there may not be the transfers could be better, or people don't know how to transfer, or people don't really know all the ways that they can use transit to get to the places they need to go. So creating kind of better communication channels and having information more available and in clear formats, will help with that. And I don't know, Joe, if with your communication background, if you have any.
Yeah, I think educational, I think in this respect is more of that targeted effort, the teaching aspect of it, and the awareness is more of just what is available higher level.
Mhm.
So we have X, Y, and Z available for use. The educational would be, this is how you use it.
And
Okay, thank you.
again, when considering microtransit, it's super important that people really understand what the service model can do for them.
All right, so
Yeah, go ahead.
this is an open-ended question. My agency's biggest concern regarding transit service.
Snow Leopard Day.
So as the rest of the answers are coming, does anyone want to talk about any of these? I see one about TOD. What are the thoughts about TOD and transit?
Just that it gives the fear, with the public projects coming into the neighborhood, just raise property values and lead to displacement.
Was that the case with the streetcar?
I'm sorry.
Was that the case with the streetcar when the streetcar was created? Or
I don't know in Tucson's case, but in South Tucson, that's the fear.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you can't compare the streetcar to fixed route transit in that vein, and at least in my opinion, they have two different connotations in our region.
which ones are those?
Yeah, it was hard to hear the gentleman that was speaking, but he said reduce property values, I think was one of them, and stuff, and I agree with him. And then you mentioned, was that the fear when the modern streetcar came in? Modern streetcar was not, and I don't think perceived in the same manner in which fixed route services or other services are. So I don't think it's the same. I don't think you can view them the same.
Oh, yeah, I agree that they are not the same, but I was talking about the TOD in particular, which
Ah.
is usually associated with high capacity transit like streetcar or BRT or bus rapid transit or and I ask because I know that that's a fear that other cities have regarding BRT and light rail and all of that is to lead to gentrification. So the TOD needs to be very well thought.
They're really planned out, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, some of the meetings that they've had for the BRT or the Tucson Rapid Transit, or even the planning for BRT or other high capacity transit, that gentrification has come up multiple times.
Mhm.
I think with the rail, whether it's streetcar or light rail, definitely, but it's also businesses staying during construction, but you have that with any roadway construction, major construction, disrupting business, but the streetcar did disrupt some businesses. They've recouped it in many cases, but some businesses no longer exist. But I think the ETOD people have been really worried about gentrification, even with BRT. But we don't have it yet, so I don't know if that will come. I agree with Amy. People, and I just had this conversation with Shamara. People, especially younger people, see rubber or wheels different than rail in the ground, and they treat them differently.
Thank you. What about funding? I see long-term funding and funding.
Well, we should all be aware that 2026, the RTA will, at some point in time, we're gonna have to vote for a reauthorization of quite a
Mhm.
bit of funding.
Yep.
If that fails, the world will look different.
Yes.
Now, is that separate from resources? Is funding separate from resources?
There's several, yes.
Well, resources could be a litany of things. Availability of drivers, and nationwide, we know the transit labor costs are increasing, but not enough to get people through the door to want to be transit drivers. It's also the risk that some of them on fixed route feel that the job is not really safe. I think I put on there the cost of rolling stock. The cost of a cutaway bus went from $60,000 to $130,000. So you got drivers, you got cost of buses. It's all the resources, I think, that, it's cost of shade, it's cost of putting in the right infrastructure to support a fixed route transit system, like sidewalks. I think I saw someone mention sidewalks. You have to make the ability for somebody to get to transit easier and well lit. So I think resources may have several connotations to it.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah, that's great. But can we see what is in the ones that are covered?
Can you scroll down on your
Scroll
side?
down. Oh, thank you.
Oh, there was the lack of sidewalks.
Okay, yeah. How is the workforce topic or challenges here? Has that recovered from COVID? Are drivers available, mechanics?
I think Amy hit right on it. It's how much they get paid in our region compared to other places. Every driver, whether you're paratransit, on demand, fixed route, all have to work with the public, and they get their CDLs and they get their training, and then they have a bad experience with somebody and then they're gone. Or they see another industry making as much or more than what they make it, when they walk in the door, they're not, when you walk in, there's a huge range between starting and ending. And even the ending point, if you're talking about the union wages, is still less than what somebody can make driving a truck, hauling freight.
And in some places, the starting rate is lower than what you can make working at McDonald's.
So that's a serious challenge. And well, Amy can tell you, we just had a driver retire after 51 years. Drivers stay
Wow.
for a long time, but they're aging out. We don't have enough younger people to take their place.
And they don't, and that's a great discussion. I don't think younger people aspire to be a bus driver. It's not something people want to do.
Thank you. Yeah, that stuff is not unique. I know there's no comfort in that, but we
Well,
see
there
it every-
is if your microtransit vehicles are autonomous.
Yeah. But not yet. They're not.
Not
but
yet.
I mean, one of the benefits of the microtransit is that you can have drivers that that you don't require CDLs, so that helps a little bit. But it is challenging, and especially after COVID, it's been challenging for many agencies to be able to address the workforce. Yeah.
But they need different kind of training. So I
Mhm.
know the paratransit drivers and the ones that do both microtransit, paratransit, they need training that has to deal with healthcare and public health.
Mhm. Yeah.
They need a different kind of training, so it's still very specialized on dealing with people who have mental health issues or who have other health issues that they need to be aware of as drivers.
Mhm. Yes. I'm curious about the ADA compliance. What is that about? Is that regarding stops or what is it?
I can make a guess, but I think somebody else put that answer. I think it has a lot to do with how do you get to a bus stop? Can you sidewalks?
Yeah, I was wondering if it was that too, yeah.
Making sure that you have enough right of way so that you can have an appropriate loading
Mhm.
pad. That's buying land and putting in infrastructure and making sure that your vehicles are all ADA compliant or that adds a cost, making sure you have low floor, making sure you have ramps, making sure you have places for wheelchairs.
I think we can move on.
Sorry, microphone was off. All right. What does success look like for your agency?
And we are almost done. We have only one more question. to talk about the choices?
Well, I put in other, and the reason I put in other, though, I think I hit something and reduced it. But you don't have anything here about the physical infrastructure. And that would be, making every stop accessible, making sure that it was safe to cross the street in places that don't have a signal, making sure, that's as much a part of success as having shorter wait times or better integration.
It seems like this is geared towards, most of these questions are geared towards attracting new riders. That's why I think I put what I did. I'd really like us to correct the deficiencies in the core and the base service we have before we try to attract more riders. This is Tucson, Arizona, Pima County region. It's not back east. A long time ago, I stopped trying to get discretionary riders on board. I think we need to provide a quality product so that people can ride and ride comfortably and feel that they're safe. Attracting new riders in a system our size, Pima County, I don't know how many miles we have in Pima County, but we're humongous. Serving everybody is absolutely never going to happen. It's too vast. It's too sparse. But we need to do better. The infrastructure Davida just brought about. It's been an issue since before my time, since when I was a teenager riding the SunTrans system. I'd really like us to work on improving what we've got before we try to expand to others. That's just mine.
Thank you. That's very valuable. Anyone else?
All right. This is available. Where should PAG focus efforts?
This is a loaded question, guys. I'm not sure I want to answer.
But you don't have to. And we understand that it's difficult because all of that is needed. I mean, we hear loud and clear what you're saying, that there are many needs and that, it's important to balance the funding with the needs and the service that is provided.
The other thing too is that, you're asking 3 staff members or whatever here today, and you really ought to be asking the public what they want, because that's ultimately what's going to make it work or not, and potentially going to help fund it as well. So we can come up with all the greatest ideas we want as staff, but if it's not based in reality, then it ain't going to work.
Yeah, and we are asking the public too. It's a multi-step approach. We are doing several different things to collect input, and you are an important body, so we also wanted your input. So
I mean, this is the first time we've seen in all this discussion vanpool or rideshare. It hasn't even been in the discussion, and now it's one of 4 options. I'm not
because
and here's the thing, you're asking local microtransit. I'm not even certain it will work here. I haven't seen your study. I haven't seen the results. You're not giving us enough information, and you're asking us to provide input on stuff we haven't gotten data on.
yeah, this is more like a wish list. We understand that you don't have enough information because we are doing the needs assessment right now. So we are just trying to gauge where you are in, with the information you have.
But
And-
my wish list, my wish list for fixed route is different than my wish list for dial-a-ride is different than my wish list for van pool. We're integrating too many modes of transportation and we want to whitewash it with one answer. I think it's much more complex than these solution sets.
Yeah, and we understand that it's very complex. And that's why we are doing, all these discussions and meeting with you and also going to the public and doing all the kind of baseline analysis.
Are you going to go to the public with these same questions?
No, they're a little different. Mhm.
And I'm going to follow up just a status on the public outreach to date, which is 2 days. We've been to 4 different transit centers, the main ones here plus U of A. And we have engaged with the driving community like we talked about earlier. We hosted an open house in Vail last night, and tonight will be an open house meeting in Picture Rocks. So hitting up a variety of public, the drivers at those transit stops as well, the drivers more regionally, and then you all as agency leads.
Is there any online ability to put in information that we can put links on our website saying, hey, if you want to participate in this, here's your way to do this. I mean, we're a very computer-oriented, app-oriented world right now.
Yeah, Amy, no, thanks, great point. Yeah, so there is a link to the survey. So like it just got rolled out with the outreach this week. So we'll definitely be sending that through email to you all to help promote.
Yes.
Anna, are you also putting it on social media?
Yes, it was posted on the PAG social media page. So yeah, I mean, you're welcome to, of course, do the same.
Yeah, and we have a lot of those materials that we coordinated with PAG on, so we could always get you materials as well, hard copies or that online engagement wording too. So we can establish a package for you all to implement and advertise within your local jurisdiction or agency.
So this is the last question. I don't know if anyone else wants to tell us anything about your answers.
I'm gonna kind of go back to some of what Amy mentioned. There's a lot here. I personally think that integrating all the services so that they at least touch each other is really important, but there was a lot there that wasn't included, like the physical infrastructure to get to transit. Accessibility has a couple ways. If we are not accessible to people who want or need to use it, both physically and on the ground and physically with the routes, that we're not gonna go any farther. But we need that just to take care of the people that are currently on the system, who currently want to use the system. I try to use the system every week. My team has to use it every month only because I've made it a requirement for them. So, but we still have to figure out, can we get to the route? Can we get to our destination where we're going on transit? That wasn't in those questions at the end here. So it's I'm not sure that I'm saying it right. There's the limited resources, our balancing acts that we're all doing, we need to have more stuff so that we have a 7-day-a-week service. Others will disagree with me, but I think we have demand on Saturday and Sunday that we're not taking care of, that is equal, it pretty close to what we have during the week, but when you have half or a third of the service on the weekend that you have on the weekday, you don't see it. Or you assume that you don't need it, but you don't even come close. When you don't even have service on the weekend, but you know you've got demand, and we're only doing weekdays on Sun Shuttle, then that's a problem. If we don't have a way to get to it, that's a problem. So those categories were very difficult, and I don't think we I don't know if we just scratched the surface, but if we're making decisions just based on that limited information, I think we didn't have enough.
Well, there are not decisions made right now. It's just giving you your opinions. I think the decisions will come later as the plans are developed. And we really appreciate your time. I think this has been very valuable. We got really good feedback from all of you, and we'll discuss with Hannah and Janet if we want to do follow-ups and with some of these discussions.
Anything else from anyone? Looks like we've done the interactive exercise.
Yeah.
All right, so I think we can. Anyone, any last thoughts? And we can move on, I think, to our adjourn, or actually we have project next steps. Yeah, so as Mariette mentioned, this is not the end of the conversation. This meeting will be recorded and the presentation available online, so be sure to send that out to everyone. We can, of course, if you think of other things or further follow-up or one-on-one conversations are needed, we can definitely make that happen, and we'll have another advisory committee meeting in the near future. Is there anything else?
So Hannah, this is Davida, I want to just make a point of saying thank you to all of you for including all of us. We all have different perspectives of what we're trying to do. I think it's really hard when I have my microtransit hat on versus my fixed route hat on versus my public opinion hat on or personal opinion hat on. Because I would say things differently if it was me, Q Public, or if it was me working on our microtransit project, or if it was me fixed route, because I know Amy mentioned we have different needs or different wish lists for each mode that we work with, or even streetcar or BRT. But I do appreciate you guys including us and making sure that you get our opinions as well.
No, absolutely. I really appreciate everyone's time today. All right, one last chance for any final thoughts before we move on to adjournment. All right, well, we can go to the next item, which is adjournment. So thanks so much again for everyone's time, and we will be following up. And of course, don't hesitate to reach out with any other, questions or thoughts as they come up. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.